I got into the donk game. One, my dad had one, and my grandmother had one before they were called donks. But I grew up in Carroll City. My partner Sweet, he had a 75 Vert, and from that point I've always wanted one. I stay in my own lane, I do what I'm supposed to do, and hopefully when I'm finished it'll be something nice. My goal is to build a timeless classic. If I put 26s on it, it's gonna play, or if I have the stocks on there, it's still gonna play. If you get into the donk game and you're working 9 to 5, you gotta get your extra hustle or something like that. I'm Ellis from 9 to 5 Builds. This is my project build, 1973 convertible. If you get into the donk game, from my perspective, and you're working 9 to 5, you got to get your extra hustle or something like that. Don't let building this car come from out of your main source of income. I build this car based off of overtime. When I have overtime to work, I work it, and then I can put a little bit more into it. But as far as chasing this, or chasing the dream of like having a really nice donk off of your regular pay, unless you're making 6 figures or better, I would definitely say you got to get your extra hustle, to make this work. First car actually was a donk, and it was my everyday driver, and that was back in the 394, and it was my daily driver. I took it to work everywhere. I rode up and down to Tallahassee because I used to go to school in Tallahassee. It was all I knew, as far as a car, and just a car that I love. And I never would have thought it would have went to this magnitude. The donk culture, I don't see it going anywhere anytime soon. It's a lot of things going on within it, that probably should be adjusted or changed. But for the overall love of the donk game, it gets no better than this. You get your Vert, like they say, it's like you're closer to God. What I'm just trying to do is just show that you can build a nice car without having a whole lot of money to put into it. This is gonna be a nice episode on KandyonChrome. You're gonna follow me as I take you through my process of doing an in-house all frame off build. Never done a frame off before. The only experience really I've had with a car is just doing brakes, general maintenance, spark plugs, things of that nature. But nothing this extensive, nothing. All right, so everything that it took for me to disassemble this car is pretty much within these 2 bags right here. I have my impact wrenches, my grinders, my sanders, and then just my sockets and wrenches. You just have to get to work and have determination, and eventually things will fall into place. Pretty much I got started on this because I wanted to clean up my car. It was a clean car to start with, but when I started looking at it like in depth, it really wasn't all that clean. So one bolt unloosed and turned into another, and then it just spun out to be this. As you can see, I already got the frame powder coated. I have my pieces powder coated. Pretty much everything on here has been touched or will be touched eventually. What I'm just trying to do is just show that you can build a nice car without having a whole lot of money to put into it. You gotta set a budget and you go with it. My budget is in between 30 and 40,000 over a couple of years span. When I have the extra money to do something, I build. When I don't, it sits. But I'm always thinking what's gonna be the next thing that I'm gonna do, you know, as far as my project is concerned. The hardest part about this build was taking the body off of the frame and pretty much doing it by myself. You know, I had a couple of jacks, some wood, some jack stands, and I just got to work. And you can see now I got my frame back from the powder coating. Bullseye, really good company. They came out, picked up the frame from the house, powder coated, brought it back to me, and now I'm back in the process of putting everything back together. I got my rear end in the back. I got it mocked up. I'm just waiting on the right bolts to come back with the hardened steel bolts to come back so that I can put everything back together, lock it down, and then get this to be a rolling chassis. Once I get it to a rolling chassis, then I can concentrate on getting the body put back on and getting into a paint body shop. So one day, and me and my son, we were looking at the car, and I said, you know, give me a screwdriver. And we took the screwdriver, we took off the seal where the carpet holds the carpet down by the door, and up by the floorboard up here, there was a hole. There was a hole in the floor pan. And from there I was like, you know what? I'm already having issues with the body, and now the floor that I didn't know about. And I was like, you know what? Either I'm gonna sell the car or I'm gonna do it right. And trying to stay within a budget because I don't have the excess money like you see some of these really nice donks that are being built to build mine with. I decided to do it myself. You really got to be into this type of hobby, because if not, this is pretty much right now this is a parts car because it's in 1,000 pieces. I have pieces everywhere, but because I have a goal, I have drive, and I love the Chevy game, I'm gonna see this all the way to the end. I don't know if I'm gonna have all the big brakes, the super, you know, like the Ellis motors, but what I do know when I finish, I'm gonna have a complete clean car. And then from there, once I get the car back up and running and it's clean, then I'm thinking maybe I can add the big brakes and maybe later on down the line the Ellis motor. But I really want this car to be truthful. I want it to be nostalgic. Like when you see the car, you'll be like, that's almost how it looked when it came off of the showroom floor back in '73. For me, like you can see, I got a 71 grill because at one point in time I was going to do a 71. I got a 75 grill, 75 pieces in here. I was going to do a 75, but they just didn't sit well. When I got the 73, because of where I came from, and like I said, I grew up in Carroll City, 73s, 72s, and then the 75s were the main donks back in the early 90s. And everybody wanted 73 or 75. So for me, 73 is right in the middle. It's the happy median. And I like the way it looks.
And how much use do you get out of your car when your car was on the road? Like what?
I was everywhere in my car. Everywhere. I didn't baby it. I probably have to not so much baby it now, but I have to do a lot more maintenance on it to keep it where the appeal of it is the same. But you gotta drive your car. It's just not for car shows and to be on a trailer.
Did you ever drive to work?
All the time. I drove my car to work all the time. I got pictures on my Instagram, 9 to 5 builds. You can see the background of my job, you know, with the Chevy in it. So yeah, it's definitely a love for it. My first car was a 72 Impala Custom. I bought it in Tallahassee, 2-door. I rebuilt the engine, got it where it was road worthy, and I used to drive it up and down 95 on, you know, Christmas breaks, summer breaks, or whatever. If you got one, drive it. I'm definitely gonna drive it because this is a street car. I'm building a street car. I'm not building a show car. I'm building a street car. These cars are positive, you know, more so than anything else. the love for the old school is here. And like I say, from my dad and my grandmother having one, my grandmother had a 70, my dad had a 75. I've always loved them, always.
But it's Miami, man. This is just like ingrained in us, man. This is like, you can't go anywhere without seeing a donk.
Yeah, that's true. And it's when the car scene was different back in like the early late 90s, where you had donks, Novas, Cadillacs, Buicks, Oldsmobiles. The car game was a lot more interesting because you have variety. Now it's kind of streamlined to donks, G-bodies. And that's why I'm trying to do mine in-house, and try to put a little of my touch on it and what I like about these cars in my car. These are some of my rust tanks right here, where I put my rusted parts in. I let them soak, I bring them back out, I let them dry, prep them. Over here's another tank that I use, a little tub that I use makeshift, where when I have certain parts that I want clean or whatever, I clean it in that. You have to become creative, but the main thing is stopping the rust, treating it, and preventing it from coming back. That's the main thing with these cars. The rust kills them. If you don't have a garage, and that's another reason why I started building this and creating my page with 9 to 5 builds. It's just to show the guys who don't have the money for a garage or storage that there are certain things you can do that you can hold on and preserve your car, but you just have to spend a little bit, not a lot, but a little bit, and you just have to be aware. If you don't know, ask, reach out. That's what I do. If one door doesn't open, another will eventually, but I'm thankful because I have a couple of key guys in this game who I'm good with, and they share their knowledge, and then I spin around, and then my creative mind goes and I incorporate it into what I'm doing here. But the main thing is, like, if you have a old school like I did for so many years, I didn't have a garage to keep it in, it was outside. So if I would have weatherproofed it back then, it would have preserved a lot of parts and pieces. Like you can see, like my bumpers, when I get my bumpers back from the chrome plating shop, I'm going to encapsulate the insides of them. And that's something that I'm starting to see a couple of shops showing. I don't know if they have been doing it for years, but I never heard about it. But just certain things like that. Because I don't want to have to reinvest this money again. When I'm done with this car, I want it to be done. Like, I don't want to have to look back at it other than to change the oil, put some gas in it, flip the rims. But the paint, the rust, I want it to be encapsulated, and that's my main goal with this car. If you want to say a layered approach to what I'm doing here, these are all the pieces, and you won't see most of these pieces. These are the behind the scenes pieces, like bumpers. These go behind your seats, but I wanted to touch them just to make sure, because when I took them off of the car, they were rusty. So I cleaned them up in my tanks, treated them. I'm letting them sit. They're curing. I'm gonna hit them once or twice again before I put it back on the car. So as you can see, this is like one of my tanks that I use to treat the rust. It's evaporating because of the heat and things like that. But
what's in there?
This is a solution that I got from the parts store. It strips the rust off of metal. So once I stripped it, I let it dry, I hang them, and then I treat them. These parts were spray painted, but as you can see, like the parts that are gonna get seen the most and take on the most abuse, I got them powder coated. You gotta get them powder coated. You don't have to, but powder coating is a stronger material. It adheres, it lasts longer. In my book, powder coating is the way to go. I've seen the professionals do it, and they're doing it for a reason. You don't have to do it again. These things, they shouldn't get not too much abuse, so they'll be okay and they're behind the scenes. But I just want to make sure that anything that possibly could rust on this car, I touch. And as you can see, the car's in 1,000 pieces. I have my box back here where I have all my Ziploc bags. Everything is bagged and tagged. When I put this car back together, everything is going to be rust free. I'm going to put another one down too. Alright, so I even went to the extent of getting my my seats, the springs on the seats, powder coated. Mainly because when I had looked up under there, when I was taking the car apart, it was a lot of rust. So the springs had a lot of rust that would hit the carpet, and I was wondering where it was coming from, and obviously it was this. So to take care of that, I powder coated. Even though you'll never see this, these are one of the things on the car you'll never really see. I wanted to do it just because it's my build and it's the way I do things. I have my skins here. Once I get the skins put back on, I get new cushions and put my interior back together. This is off of the front seat, the bench, which your back sits on, and just clean it up. And that's all I did was just clean it up. Just clean it up. 71s, 2s, and 3s, the tail lights are like, to me, it's a deal breaker. You always want clean tail lights, but more so taking it a step further. This is how the housing lights look before. I just been fooling around and cleaning them up just to see what I can do. Because like I say, once I'm finished with this, I want this car to be super clean. With me choosing my powder coating company, Bullseye, over in West Park, Florida, I chose them because for me, they had the proper facility, they had a big enough tank. I'm not saying that any other local powder coaters aren't good, but for me, it worked for me and what I had going on because I didn't have a truck, I didn't have a trailer. Michael from Bullseye, he came to the house, he picked up the frame for me, we loaded it up on the trailer, they powder coated. When it was done, he brought it back to me. That right there saved me a lot of time, a lot of money, and just a lot of energy. And as you can see, with this, I'm hours and hours into this, and that just helped me alleviate one more problem. Thanks for watching. This is 9 to 5 Builds. KandyonChrome has me on point. Keep watching, more to come, and I'm gonna show you how we can build a street car on a working man's budget.